Hi, and welcome to As for Science. And this is what tongue taste buds look like under an electron microscope. We have about 10,000 of them in total, and they regenerate in just 2 weeks. Surely, whenever someone mentions taste buds, the typical map of flavors probably comes to your mind. It is an unfortunately common misconception that different sections of the tongue are exclusively responsible for different basic tastes. It's illustrated with a diagram of the tongue with some parts of it labeled for each taste, although it has been taught in schools for some time now. It has been scientifically proven that our tongue doesn't work like this. In reality, all taste sensations come from all areas of the tongue. That is, we can detect the 4 flavors that exist with any part of the tongue. But is it true that only 4 flavors exist? Well, in reality, no. There's a 5th flavor that is really not considered in the West, but in the East it is. And it officially has already been added to the list of known flavors. Its name is umami, which translated from Japanese means tasty, and it's the flavor of glutamate, a substance that is found in abundance in tomatoes and mushrooms. Although it is evident that the choice of a favorite food is something completely personal, it's also true that there's a certain global tendency to prefer some foods over others. The cauliflower, for example, is consumed around the world. But if you ask someone if they prefer meat or cauliflower, they are more likely to prefer meat. And it's a shame, given that it is an amazing vegetable. It can be white, yellow, and lilac. And it also grows making fractals, perfectly symmetrical structures that are repeated infinitely. But why is the cauliflower not liked as much on average as other foods? This is due to the sulfur compounds that the plant contains. When it's raw, it doesn't smell bad, but it's because these compounds are attached together. However, when it is boiled, that structure breaks in such a way that the sulfur compounds become volatile, which makes us able to smell it, and it has the same smell as food that is rotting. And this is why cauliflower and other vegetables have this bad reputation, because they contain a certain amount of these sulfur compounds. But in reality, the bad smell itself does not exist, but rather our body interprets odors based on whether a substance suits us or not. A person who, for example, has not taken a bath for weeks will smell bad, but not because they smell bad, but because your body is warning you that it is not very convenient to get close to that person. In the same way, there are certain odors for which our body feels certain predilection to. And in the case of food, those are fats. French fries, hamburgers, bacon, pizza. All these foods have something in common, and that is that they make our body generate endocannabinoids. Lipids, similar to marijuana, that make a plate of French fries feel irresistible and make us not want to stop eating after trying them. However, sugars and proteins do not produce this effect on us. So despite being very good foods, they are not so irresistible as fats. And this is really due to an evolutionary adaptation, since fats are the foods that allow us to store more energy in less volume. So in the past, when food was scarce, it was much more feasible and practical to eat fat. The problem is that currently we have a lot of this food available, which induces our instinct to eat more than we should. It's something similar to what happens to fish in a fish tank. If you have ever had a fish, you will know that you cannot give it so much food since it will eat until it's full and die. This is due to an instinctive reflex on the fish. They feel that they are trapped in a fish tank, that they have no food sources, and this is why they eat everything that they see. In us humans, something similar happens, and although we don't need such amounts of fats, our instinct urges us to consume them. But don't use this as an excuse. In reality, what is really bad about these foods is the amount of calories that they have. But what is a calorie? It's the amount of energy needed to raise the temperature of 1 gram of pure water by 1 degree. 100 grams of nuts, for example, have 660 kilocalories, which is 660,000 calories. That is, with 100 grams of nuts, you could heat up all the water that fits in a container by 1 degree. But the actually interesting question is, how many calories do you have? Well, the average adult has approximately 110,000 kilocalories, or what it's the same, the energy with which you could heat up the water that fits in this tank by 1 degree. Not bad at all. So now, as a conclusion, we can think that the best food will be the one that contains more endocannabinoids, that is, the one with the most fat, the one that appears the most irresistible. So following this criterion, the best food would be the fried pork rinds, since they contain two of the substances with the most fat, vegetable oil and animal fat. Although obviously, as you may have thought, this is not the best food in the world. And that is because there are other 5 factors that influence people's preferences towards foods. Genetics. Most people have different combinations of taste receptor genes, and that is why almost everyone lacks the ability to detect at least one aroma, so that the same food may seem different to one person or another. Experience. It is well known that babies are predisposed to prefer foods that their mothers ate while pregnant or during lactation. In addition, during a person's life, certain events that occurred while something was eaten can influence positively or negatively in the predisposition of that person to eat that food. Culture. The environment that surrounds people can greatly influence their gastronomic preferences. An evidence of this is that actually not many people like extremely bitter or spicy foods the first time that they taste them, but they can tolerate and even love them with repeated exposure, and for the fact of being close to people who enjoy these foods. Gender. It has been demonstrated that women are more likely to eat sweets, while men are more likely to eat salty foods. Now you know why the majority of chocolate ads usually include women. Texture. It is a remarkable and proven fact that some people just hate viscous, slushy, or creamy foods without caring about taste, only texture. Our body reacts to food, and even before you put your first bite in your mouth, your stomach is already producing the gastric juices that will dissolve it. Even just by seeing it, the digestive process starts. Sometimes it's not even necessary to see food, simply seeing the red color triggers this process. It is proven that the simple fact of seeing red produces adrenaline, the heartbeat becomes stronger, boosts blood pressure, increases respiration, and appetite. This is what is used in color marketing, and if you don't believe me, look at the predominant color in many major food brands. McDonald's, Burger King, Kentucky Fried Chicken, Pizza Hut, and so on an endless list of companies dedicated to food. So in summary, scientifically speaking, the best food that exists is the one that you like the most. Although globally speaking, we could make a top 3. That would be made up of pizza, pasta, and hamburger. Even better if they come wrapped in red paper. Thank you very much for watching the video, and goodbye.